Peace, wholeness, and divine blessings, everyone. Grand Rising, I am Moon Goddess Ambrosia, the Fifth Force Oracle, and I am Kin 181, the Red Crystal Dragon. And I am thankful and grateful as always to share the Cosmic Oracle reading of Evolution for the collective. Definitely thankful and give gratitude to all of M.I.M.E.C, all of Synchronistic Hueman, as well as Moon Goddess and the Healing Arts. And so I am looking forward to getting into this reading for us on this plasma, as we are now in a new wave spell. So I'm ready to jump right on into it. And I will have this video posted on YouTube at 10:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so let's go ahead and get right on into it. So, what I like to do on these sessions is to remind us that we are living expressions of divinity. You know, when we come into the realization and really actualize it within us, you know, that is like one of the first steps to making shifts within our lives. And so, being that we are in this heptad, I would love for us to focus on fulfilling our soul's mission. So, getting into the mindset of a synchronaut to be intentional about what we're doing with our time, space, and energy, and making sure we're gearing that towards fulfilling our mission or our soul's calling. And so I would like to invite you all to state your personal affirmation with me as I state mine. As we say our affirmations, this is us locking into our living expression. And so I highly encourage us to speak it out loud slowly and to really feel the truth of each word resonating within us. Okay, so really connect with your affirmation. And so we're doing this as a collective because, you know, we are each puzzle pieces in this evolution process. You know, we're all in this experience together, and we all carry a special role within it. And so by us stating our affirmation helps us to bring all of that into unity. Ashe. So we're going to say, as a living expression of, then you're going to say your kin number, its name, and your galactic signature affirmation. All right. So please join me in stating that. As a living expression of kin 181, the red crystal dragon, I dedicate in order to nurture universalizing being. I seal the input of birth with the crystal tone of cooperation. I am guided by the power of space. Ashe, Ashe, and Asheo. I seal the input of birth, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. So the Destiny Kin oracles are based on this oracle board here that I have on the right side, and it provides us with a fifth dimensional template for all of the 20 archetypes within the Tzolk'in cosmology. And so this template helps us to sustain our cosmic synergy as multidimensional beings. So essentially what this means is that we are acknowledging that we have a soul, we have a spirit, we have an emotional aspect to ourselves, we have a mental as well as a physical body. And so for us to really move in alignment with all that we are, all of those components must be synchronized, be in alignment with one another. And so by knowing your personal destiny oracle and the archetypes that sit in those positions help you to recognize how to be in your multidimensional states, or how to get some ideas of how to operate in your whole state of being. Okay. And so, being that we are on Kin 80, the yellow lunar sun, excuse me, excuse me. This is the emotional body. This is my personal emotional body. So we'll talk about that a little bit more here. With this, you know, when we're looking at the left side, you can see where the yellow sun archetype sits and the basic template that it has. So what I mean by that is that all of the yellow suns um, is going to have the yellow sun that sits in the center. On the right side, it's going to have the blue storm archetype. On the left, is going to have the white dog archetype. And then in the emotional body down below, it's going to have the red dragon. Now, depending on what the galactic tone or the vibrational frequency that's um, that's corresponded to the archetype, such as in this case the lunar tone, that will determine what archetype is going to sit in that above position, which represents the spirit body or the spirit guide. And so that is why the Oracle board is the basic template, because each archetype will have 4 main archetypes that play um, into that destiny oracle. So with that, let's go ahead and get into looking at the significance of where we are and the kin of the plasma that we're focusing on today. So we're in this wave spell of the blue storm. I look at the wave spells like missions. So our mission in this wave spell is to tap into the power of self-generation. That means catalyzing our own energy to play with the illusion or play the illusion of our magic. So it's basically like, us embodying our our um our energy and showing up in it or making it real, bringing it outside so that other people can observe or experience it, and you could also observe and experience it on the 3D. It's not just an energy we're harnessing inside of us, so um, that's why I like to say everything is an illusion, because it's the essence of the being that makes the thing what it is, right? And then whatever that thing is can shift, change, form, and all of that stuff. And so, with us being in the Blue Storm wave spell, is showing us how we can shift in the way that we're showing up and exemplifying the energy that we embody. And so, with us being on the yellow lunar sun archetype, or kin, what we're doing on this plasma is we can look at it from this. So the yellow is talking about the power that ripens fruit. So this is us coming into our power so that we can reap the harvest of what it's like to, fully walk in our divinity. And then when we jump down to the archetype of the yellow sun, also known as the enlightened one, this is the power of universal fire that enlightens our life. So basically it's saying that this universal fire is bringing in that spark for us to experience life, and that is ripening the fruit. So it's just like when you're planting a seed in the ground, when you start to see when it's under the ground, you're not necessarily seeing it being activated until you start seeing the plant starting to form outside of the soil. And so that is also part of the magic. It's like taking something that's not that's done in the unseen, aka the internal parts of us or inside the soil of us. And when that seedlings start to bloom, that's when you start to see the life of it. And so essentially that is the same thing of what's happening for us. And so when we look at the lunar tone of us being on this plasma, This is talking about polarizing the challenges so that we can bring in stability in our lives. And so when we look at the remix version of this affirmation, this can help us to get more insight as to how to focus our energy on this plasma. So as we read this together, I highly encourage you to focus on what stands out for you, and we will go from there. So it states, we polarize our self-generation in order to enlighten our magic by stabilizing our life. We seal our self-regulated matrix of universal fire with the lunar tone of challenge. We are guided by the power of free will. Ashe, ashe, and ashe yo. And so essentially what this means is that, or what stood out for me is that, when we polarize that our self-generation, that means looking at the polarities within our capacity to catalyze and, to tap into that self-generation aspect. So that is catalyzing and generating our own energetic essence. So it's like looking at the pros and cons, the thises and the that's, to recognize, the inner light and the energy that we already embody. And we also can look at or start coming into the realization of being intentional about what we want to do with the energy we have. You know what I'm saying? So using that enlightenment, those insights that come through, helps us to bring forth stability in our lives. It also helps us to navigate different challenges, and be able to do it from our empowered state. Recognizing how we can activate the magic of our energy to bring forth stability. Okay. And so also with this, that lunar tone of challenge helps us to honestly recognize the challenges that we are actually experiencing, bringing light to the situation so that we can gain clarity. That's the whole point of what we're really focusing on today, is bringing light to the situation so we can gain clarity on how to stabilize our life. You know what I'm saying? So by us identifying or discovering what aspects to stabilize or what's needed to be stabilized, we can do that by understanding which areas of our life is calling for balance and alignment. And so this tells us that we have the power to consciously choose to bask in our own magic. And when we do that, we're also consciously choosing to invite more blessings into our lives. And so we're able to do this by being guided by the power of free will. That's using our wisdom with intentions and being intentional with our wisdom. Okay. And so one or two of the things that can help us to lock in on this focus is to ask ourselves, how are the challenges that we're experiencing bringing light to our life? Like what is it showing us that, what type of stability is it calling for? Also, how can we generate and regulate the magic of our inner fire? When we feel that fire inside of us, how can we regulate that? How can we spark it up inside of us? And then also, how can we regulate it when it's time to put it in motion, when it's time to move and take action? Those type of things. And so my one liner for us to hold this focus states, I am stabilizing my life to self-generate the energy of my divine magic. I am stabilizing my life to self-generate the energy of my divine magic. You are stabilizing your life to self-generate the energy of your divine magic. Ashe, ashe, and Nashe Yo. Therefore, I am, you are, and we are. So now we are going to get into the oracle reading itself for this plasma, remembering that the main or the main tone or frequency that we're focusing on is this lunar tone, which asks the question, what is my challenge? So throughout this plasma, take that, give yourself that space in time to reflect on that question and look at what comes through honestly. Really look at it. Answer this question for yourself. And so as you focus in on that question, again, remember that we're stabilizing our life so that we can generate our own our our divine magic, our own energy, okay? Excuse me. So when we look at how we're being guided, we're being guided to direct this focus of stabilizing our lives towards stabilizing our wisdom, allowing our free will to influence us to be wise. So it's not just about, just doing whatever you want. It's talking about making wise decisions. Also, part of that free will is being able to make wise decisions. Like, you don't have to, do stuff that seems ignorant just because you got the free will. Like, go ahead and tap into your wisdom and, do what you got to do. And so that is how we're being guided. And then what I would like to do is jump down to the emotional body, which is the red crystal dragon. Hey, that's me, which is the red crystal dragon. And in this position, this is the emotional body that is the hidden power or the fuel that's giving us that energy to take action. So what's going to motivate us to take action is by recognizing how we can nurture ourselves. How can we nurture ourselves on all levels within us, so that we can actually thrive here in the 3D experience? You know what I'm saying? So what's the fuel? So basically that is the fuel for recognizing how to actually bring in that stability in your life. If you notice that doing a certain thing doesn't actually nurture you, then boom, that brings in the enlightenment. It's like, okay, this doesn't help me to grow, so let me stop. And it's so, it sounds so simple, but I definitely understand how it can also be challenging for us to lock in on that focus. So yeah, this is a good piece right here to really sit in and ground yourself in, to continue to hold this focus. Like, really look at how can you crystallize nurturing yourself? How can you lock in and make it crystal clear about how you see yourself growing? Are you providing the conditions that's going to help you to thrive? Okay. So that is the emotional body. Then let's take a look at the mental body on the left, which we have the white lunar dog. And I love that the white lunar dog sits here in this position, because it also brings light to why it may feel like a challenge for us to nurture ourselves sometimes. And so what the white dog is doing in this part, or on this behalf, is helping us to strengthen our mental fortitude when it comes to experiencing different challenges. Um, and that's important, because when we recognize the gift in the challenge, that's where the blessings start to come in. So it can feel challenging for us to nurture ourselves and to bring stability in our lives, uh, when we're not being loyal to the truth in our hearts. When we're not um, loving ourselves or loving others from our heart space. So that's a great area to bring in that stability at, is by being loyal to your heart. And also with the with this is that on this plasma, the white lunar dog in the mental body is a galactic activation portal. So this is like where you can get the ka-ching, it's like when you get that money coming in there. And so I really, 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 really want to also encourage you to lock in on this part. Is like, how can you be more loyal in your heart to nurture yourself and stabilize your life? And so with that, it does come with, um, bringing or attracting into your awareness how to purify your energy. So what I mean by that is if you're doing something that doesn't help you to grow, it's like really sitting with yourself, and it's like, why, and ask yourself, like, why do I do this knowing that it's not beneficial to me? Because that is what's going to help you to purify it from your energy field, so that you can actually nurture yourself. We gotta be real with ourselves about what we be really doing and thinking and how we really feel. And so that is what I'll say about the mental body. And then last but not least, on the right side, this is the position of our physical body, or the physical body for this kin, which is supporting us in now um, taking what has been internalized and making it real on the external realm. It's also a mirror, so whatever's going on the external realm is a reflection on what's happening internally as well. Okay, so with that, we have the blue lunar storm that sits in this position, that is supporting us in stabilizing our life by saying, okay, now let's catalyze. Okay, in order to stabilize our life, we need to stabilize the energy. That's what the blue storm right here is saying. It's like stabilizing the energy internally first, and doing this in like a balancing act to neutralize what energy may be happening around us. And so that also helps us to catalyze our energy, the divine essence that we embody, to actually reflect what we're loyal to in our hearts. Okay, so I find that to be, personally profound for myself. It's like, okay, I can recognize the different challenges that I am having in my life, right? And when I sit and nurture myself, when I'm being true to my heart, when I'm allowing my wisdom to guide me, that is what's going to lock in that power, that inner power to generate myself. You know what I'm saying? And so it's the same for all of us. When we bring all of this together, we're basically inspiring ourselves from the inside out by communicating with our spirit, by dissecting, or I'll say polarizing, separating the pros and cons um, of, well, like I was about to say weighing the scales or the feathers. I forget. Okay, let me let me stay focused. But basically, we're looking at both aspects, or looking at all aspects of how we're doing things from our divine intelligence, so that we can better endure, bringing more beauty and essence into our lives from here, this point forward. And so with that, that will conclude the oracle reading for us on this plasma, Kin 80, the yellow lunar sun. And as always, may that you receive some divine insights and got some good gems from this. And with that, I send you all my love, my gratitude. May that you all have a beautiful plasma and enjoy your creation in every single moment of now. Feel free to reach out to me. Here's my contact information again. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and get on out of here. In Lakesh, Allah can stay peace.